What's happening, people? Welcome back to Vertical Football. Welcome back to another episode of The United Way. I'm your host, Shegun. And guys, it's great to have you here. Really, we have a lot of important discussions to have. As you guys know, we have the discussions and we try to be honest as much as we can, really, as much as is possible and as much as we know. So, guys, very, very important discussion. United is on course to qualifying for the Champions League. Based on recent permutations, we found out that United needs at most 6 points in the next 5 games, right? In the last 5 games to qualify for the Champions League. And from all indication, I don't see any reason why we should not qualify. I don't see any reason why we should not get those 6 points in the last 5 games. And even it could be less than 6 points, because at most 6 points, because based on how the opponent behind us, how they play. So, but at most we need 6 points in the last 5 games. And I think that'll be easy for us. I know I've always said that whenever the Champions League has been settled in terms of if you qualify for the Champions League, automatically I believe by the next day, the discussion will change from Champions League qualification to who now becomes the next Manchester United manager. I've given my own opinions on that in terms of, for me, it's not a matter of who I want to be the manager. It's about looking at the club currently, looking at the habits of the club, looking at the tendencies of the club, looking at the financial situation of the club, looking at the ambition level of the club, right? I've come to the conclusion that they might want to give Michael Carrick. So if you want to watch the episode, please check the episode where I analyzed why the likes of Nagelsmann, Erik, though they are very, very good managers, why the club might not be going for them due to certain conditions and certain habits and certain ambitions. So you can watch that. So for us today, what we want to do in today's episode is to talk about the expectations, what we expect from the new Manchester United manager, right? What are the expectations? And for me, I believe that I did a study before I released this episode on the common themes that made teams that have dominated the Premier League in the last 30 years. What are the common denominators that I see in their side? Right? What are the common denominators that made these teams to be dominant in terms of winning the Premier League and be a dominant force in the league, right? And so I came up with certain points that I believe these things should be the standard for the next Man United manager. These things should be the standard for this club going forward, right? So let's jump right into it. The first point for me, and let me use this point to address one issue. I have had people say, and I've had discussions with people recently that say United has tried everything. That, we went from, after Sir Alex Ferguson, went from Moyes to Van Gaal, from Van Gaal to Mourinho, from Mourinho to Ole, from Ole to Ten Hag, from Ten Hag to Ruben Amorim around. And in between those managers, we've had sprinkling of interims and caretakers, right? And they said, we've tried everything. That what should we now do? And when I hear that statement, I disagree that we have tried everything. I disagree. United hasn't tried everything. And what am I saying? United is just can be likened onto a man that wants to fish, wants to go out for fishing. He's just a man. He doesn't understand the rules and the guidelines that fishermen use to fish. He doesn't understand this. So the man just carries his boat, gets his net, and goes out to fish. And what the guy does is he just keep throwing the nets, left, right, center, just keep throwing it. And has been training for 13 years, like United. And when they throw it, the guy doesn't seem to catch anything. And he now comes and say, I have tried everything. It's right. He has tried everything. But the fact is, all that he tried was done in ignorance. All that the man tried for 13 years was done without a strategy. And I believe United, even though what we say, we've tried, we've done it. The fact is, if you are being honest with ourselves, we've tried everything we know, but everything we have done was just activity that was carried out on the foundation of ignorance. United has not been strategic. And that's why you see that man that say, I've tried everything. A fisherman will now come, because there's a difference between a man and a fisherman. A fisherman will now come and say, okay, you shouldn't be doing like this. There's a specific period of the day you must appear at the river. There are certain techniques you use to throw your nets. There are certain areas and portions of the river that you throw your net, you cast your net to. right? And the man now says, okay, let me do it. And he does it. And he sees that what he has wasted 13 years for, with the right strategy, with the right timing, with the right vision, what he wasted, he got it. And I believe United, clearly, when I studied these teams, I told you 30 years of the Premier League, when I studied the league, this English football, and I look at who has been dominant, I just come to the conclusion that United side, there's no strategy. And you can see it in the way we are doing our things. You can see it in the kind of managers we've had. You can see it in the kind of squad we have currently. Managers, as I mentioned, Ole, the Ten Hags, the Amorims, the Mourinho, the Van Gaal, different school of football. As I always say, look at the squad we have. It's a mismatch, patch of different philosophies and ideas, and you want to make something. And when you look at the teams that have been consistently be successful, you find out that those teams were made from the same fabric. The same fabric. Sir Alex teams, Pep teams, Klopp teams, right? Mourinho's teams. These teams were made from the same fabric. But when you look at United, you are seeing lace in one side, Ankara in the other. Nigerians, you understand what I'm saying? You are seeing cotton the other side. You are seeing cashmere, different colors, different like coat of many colors, and you are now asking yourself, you have tried everything. You tried everything, but you tried it in ignorance. And that's the truth. So for me, the first point I want to address, why I said all that I said, is United needs to approach this new era with this new manager, whoever the manager is, with strategy. And the first strategy is, how do you want to play football? You always hear me say this. And because this is the question that those other teams that be dominant in this league ask themselves. And many of them ask themselves this even before the manager came on board. Many of them ask themselves the question without yet having a manager. And we are at that level. We've not announced our new manager. So the question is, how do we want to play football? When we define this, how we want to play football. Okay, the way we want to play football is we want to be a high-octane, high-energy footballing side. We want to outrun teams. We want to dominate play. Okay, this is how we want to play. Okay, clear. Now, which managers are available in the world that are playing this kind of pattern and will fit into what we want? Okay, these are the managers. These ones cannot do it. These are the managers. Okay. Which kind of players are their profile comfortable with this kind of system we want to play? Oh, these are the players. These players cannot do it. Okay, so now we now have a sample now. These are the managers we can go for. These are the players we can go for. Okay, among these managers that can play this, who should we go for? Who can withstand the pressure of Man United? Who can deliver? Okay, we go for him. These are the players we can go for. Yeah, let's work together. Let's go for the right players. And you say that even cases where you try to bring a manager and it doesn't even work and you sack the manager, you still have a pool of managers within the same school of thought that you can bring and say, yeah, come. You are next. You are not buying, definitely the kind of football you are playing, where you are, is what we are playing also. That's why we brought you in. So we don't need to start buying new players for you or to change your squad. We might just do the normal transfers on a yearly basis, but we don't do an overhaul. So these are the manager we have chosen. These are the players. Or automatically they fit into what you want to do. So we just add to them. Let's go again. You will see that at the end of it, it is a very efficient and less expensive strategy. And this is a strategy that a lot of these people, clubs that are beginning to be successful or have been successful in the past, have been using. There is an idea of how they want to play football. United doesn't have an idea of how we want to play football. We don't have an idea of how we want to play football. And that's why you see, even currently now, it's just about names. United, for the past 13 years, I keep saying it, we are looking for saviors and we are disregarding systems. Oh, savior. That's why at a point where you're looking for savior, you say, we have tried everything. All you are doing is not looking for saviors. We've not tried systems. So that's the first point. United must have a clear idea of how we want to play football. Number two, the clear idea of how we want to play football must be a dominant style of play. I'll repeat that. The way we want to play football, that style of play that we have designed before now, this is how we want to play football. That style of play must be a dominant style of play. Teams that have been consistently successful in the Premier League, based on how I've seen it, teams that have been consistently successful for most parts in world football are teams that want the ball, are teams that desire to have the ball, are teams that are so much addicted to the ball that when they don't have the ball and they lose the ball, they are quick to run, to press, counter press, to recover and collect the ball from the opponent. No team can be successful and consistently successful in this game by giving the ball to the opponent and sitting back and hoping that the opponent will make mistake for them to counter attack on. No team can be successful and consistently successful with that. The most successful teams are teams, I know there are exceptions to the rules, but from that I say most are teams that have the ball. They want the ball. They believe that them having the ball means they are in control of their destiny. And let me address one point with this. I keep seeing things and I'm surprised where these things are coming from. I've had discussions with people on live shows and I keep hearing a common theme. People say Sir Alex Ferguson, when he was in Man United, played counter-attacking football. And I'm like, really? Did you watch Sir Alex? Are you sure you watched Sir Alex Ferguson? First and foremost, when I even begin to engage such situations or such short discussions, I now come to the realization that the average person that says this kind of thing does not understand the difference, number one, does not understand the difference between counter-attack and transitions. They don't even understand. They don't know they are different things. Right. So what is counter-attack? Counter-attack is a clear defined way of play where the decision is to give over the ball to the opponent, to sit back, absorb pressure, wait for the opponent's mistake, and then hit. Counter-attack football is a small club mindset. The reason why teams play counter-attack football most times is because they know, and I will say this clearly, they know that in other facets of the game, they may not be able to dominate the opponents. So what they do is, because in football, if you understand football, you understand that to defend is easier than to attack. Attack is much more difficult. So what they do is, let's sit back. Let's capitalize on mistakes. Sir Alex was never that kind of manager. Yes, there were a few games Sir Alex could resort to that. And in those games, maybe when he was playing an Arsenal, for example, where he felt Arsenal were more technical on the ball than him, it was okay, guys, let's sit back, let them have the ball, and then wait on counter. Yeah, but those games like that. But Sir Alex Ferguson, for at least 70% of the games he played in his career, was not counter-attack. Sir Alex Ferguson's football, right, was, let me explain his football quickly to us. Maybe those that didn't watch Sir Alex Ferguson, or maybe those that have forgotten. I coined what Sir Alex football was as suffocating football. That's the best way to define it. It was high energy, aggressive, hyper-attacking football. What we did then in Sir Alex's time was, number one, the intensity was top. Number two, we had our wingers, right? Number three, what we usually do then was we had people that were comfortable on the ball, they pass the ball, but we usually do something. We overload on one side and we isolate. A lot of verticality, a lot of width to the attack. What United would do in those days was, whenever we start the game under Sir Alex, we full force, pressing, attacking, everything full force. Whenever we identify the weak points of the opponents, if the weak point, for example, was the right hand side, for example, maybe Cristiano is with there on that side. Let's assume during Cristiano's time, it was there. What we did was we overload here, isolate that side. The lights was close. We give a 1v1 to that side. That's what we were doing. That's what United was doing. United was a side that the moment they high energy, the moment they catch you, if you are a side that is very, very shaky, you can concede 3 goals in quick successions because of how high energy how intense our football was. And somebody will see that kind of football and now come out to say, "Sir, let's play counter attack." There are moments where United had transitions, and like I said, there's a difference between counter attack and transitions. Transition is in the case where you are playing normally. The reality of the game, the moment of the game now warrants that you lost the ball. You now have to defend for a bit, and then you are trying. The moment the opponent loses the ball, you counter press and you go and score. That's not counter attack football. That's not counter attack football, because even Guardiola's teams does that. There are moments where, for a moment, in brief moment in time, that was not their original plan, but a brief moment in time, they were defending a bit. And when they won the ball, quick transitions, they went to score. Even I watched PSG Chelsea, there was a goal in the first leg that for a moment in time, PSG had been dominating. But for a moment in time, in the second half, I think, where PSG lost possession for a few minutes and they resorted to defending. And when they saw that, okay, I think the likes of Dembele and the likes, they scored a goal. So we now say, because they scored that kind of goal, that PSG side is a counter-attacking side. So a lot of things are coming on. I remember in Sir Alex Ferguson days where the fans will be shouting in the stadium, "Attack, attack, attack." That was Sir Alex's identity. And somebody now comes and says United was playing counter-attack under Sir Alex. No. Maybe you did not watch Sir Alex, or maybe you have forgotten Sir Alex Ferguson. So dominant teams, why am I saying all this? Teams that have been dominant in the Premier League have been teams that want to control their destiny by themselves. They want to have the ball. And when they lose the ball, they run. They chase the opponent to collect the ball, because that's what they wanted. They want to be dominant. And when I mean dominant, I'm not just talking about possession-based football, because Liverpool was dominant under Jurgen Klopp. They were not referred to as a possession-based side, but they wanted to have the ball. When they lost the ball, they press you. They press you. They press you. They wanted to be dominant. So you can be dominant in football without even being a possession-based side. There are many ways to be dominant. So we have to define, how do we want to be dominant? Because we must be dominant to actually have consistent success, or to be successful in this league. You cannot win this league. The way this league has now even become more difficult, you can't win this league from a point of view of, let them have the ball, we wait and then we hit on counter-attack. No, you cannot. This is not a shade to any manager. But some people say, oh, it's a shade to one manager. No, it's not a shade to any manager. It's just to tell you that the new United manager, whoever the person is, we must not resolve to, as people will say, they say the time Man United, we've noticed that the moment we are doing well, at the time we don't have the ball. That's why we've not won the league. You say, the more we don't have the ball, the more we have less possession is when we win games. That's why you can never win the league. You will be winning games, but you will never, eventually, you will never win the league. Because, and that's the issue with United. When we now face smaller teams that we should not have the ball and dominate, everything can scatter, because we are used to, but big teams we do well. But when it now comes to face small teams, when we have the ball, we fumble, we don't know what to do with it. Right? When teams now go low block against us, we don't know what to do with it. So forget all those ideology of is when we have lesser possession, we do well. No, we need to change it, because that ideology that we had before can never win the league that way. We need to be dominant. Have the ball to win this league. Control your destiny with your own hands. So let's move on. I don't want to waste much of our time. Let's move on. Next one. Intensity. I've noticed this, and intensity is not just about running. Intensity is not just about running. Intensity is whatever you are doing, do it with energy, do it with proactivity, do it with a certain pace, a certain level, And I feel I've noticed this about teams that have been successful in this league. There's this sense of urgency now they play. They're not so, definitely the game of football goes in rhythms. So there are even these things I'm talking about. There are certain moments in their game where consciously to them, they reduce the tempo and try to control the game. But for most parts, there's intensity, high intensity. These are teams that can control the game well. These are teams that can even outrun the opponent when need be. These are teams that can outplay the opponent when need be. So these are the teams that win the Premier League, and this is what United, whoever the manager is, the name is or the manager is not even my concern now. It's just these are the standards that we should have if you want to win the league. Now, next one. They have a system and a squad that warrants for rotations. Very, very important points. That the teams that have dominated are not just 11 players and a weak bench, as we know. They are teams that even the bench players, because their injury happens, right? Injury happens, as you all have known in this game. Injury happens, and these clubs that eventually do well to be dominant in the league, these teams have a bench that can come up and play at any point, and the team will still maintain the same levels. Yeah, I understand that obviously in these teams there are always special players. One or two special players. Maybe for Man United currently, Bruno Fernandes. Maybe for Alex Ferguson, you had the likes of Cristiano Rooney. They are special players. But the fact is, apart from these special players, you see Alex Ferguson's side, the kind of midfielders he had, the likes of Fletcher, Carrick, Hargreaves at one point, Scholes at one point of recent history now. Not even talking about the previous squad, where Anderson, Oliveira, you see that the way he could do it, he could put in a new squad and they find a way to maintain the same levels and win. Look at Pep Guardiola now. Look at Pep Guardiola. The amount of players he has in the squad and the rotation that can go on. And yet, for some reason, they still maintain the same level over the years and they win their games. So you need that. You don't just need 11 players. You need a squad that, regardless of who is playing or who is not playing, the levels are still there. The standards are still there. You need that. You need that. You need that. The next point, which I believe is going to be a very, very important point. Fitness. That's on the pitch. What I'm saying now is on the pitch. Fitness. These guys are very, very fit. And not just even fitness alone. Fitness of the spine. Very, very important. So it's not just that they have a fit squad, because obviously the injuries happen and you need a fit squad to be able to go for. But not just that, you need fitness of your spine. People that win this league consistently have a very fit and available goalkeeper. Number one, fit is there. At least 70% of the games they will play that season, the goalkeeper is fit and stable. Number two, the center backs, at least to 70%, the center backs are there. Right? They have built their partnership, they built that understanding. They are both there. Right? Their defensive midfielder, the spine, the defensive midfielder, maybe the attacking midfielder, one of the midfielders, or even the two of them are there. And then the attacker, their starting number 9 has to be fit. The spine of the team has to be fit for at least 70% of the games. So we also have to look at it. If United want to develop, Michael Carrick or whoever becomes the new manager would want to build his own new spine. Want to construct his own new spine, regardless, right? So whoever spine they're constructing must be filled with players that are not injury prone. I know yes, injury can help, but there are some players that you can track their history, track their, and you feel like these guys are very, very fit players. They've not had much injuries in their career, and there is now for us to manage them. But we need 70% of the time for that spine to be fit, to even have a shot. Goalkeeper fit, defenders, center back pairings fit, midfield pairing or one midfielder that is always there, the leader of the midfield fit, and you need your striker to be fit. You need your striker to be fit to even have a shot at winning this thing. At winning this thing. The next point. Teams that are dominant in the Premier League and have been dominant for the past 30 years are teams that it's not just all about the 3 points. And I'm saying this is not a shade to any manager. This is just the reality. I remember a popular quote by Pep Guardiola that says, 3 points is very, very important, is the most important thing. He said, but for us, we want to get our 3 points, but we want to get our 3 points in our own way. There is a science to getting 3 points, right? But there's also a science to getting 3 points consistently. You can't win the league with just 3 points. You win the league with what? 3 points consistently. And the way you win the league with 3 points consistently is the fact that for 70% of your game, you must win it in your own way of play. at least 70%. You must win it with your way of play. Yes, I understand that there are some games that will not just go your way. Even Sir Alex Ferguson those days, there are some games, like I said, Arsenal, where Arsenal had more, they were better on the ball, possession base, and Salah would just say, for this game, we just sit back, it's for counter. Yes, I knew there were those days. But for at least 70% of the games he played, those days were not counter-attack. They were not counter-attack. It was a counter-attack. But there are those days, that 30%, that you just feel, sometimes you grind result. It's a 38 game week season. You can't play beautiful for every 38 games. Yes. But 70% out of that 38 games, you must play it your way. You must win it your way for you to have a shot at winning the league. And then the next 30, you grind your points. Certain difficult away games, you grind your points 1-0. Sometimes penalty used to win. You grind your point and you move on. But for 70%, you must play it your own way, because that is the secret for getting 3 points consistently, which eventually leads to the league. Last point, so that I don't bore you. Last point of things I have noticed is that there's a clear goal. And I keep asking people, what will signify that United is back? What is the signal that will show you that Manchester United is back? It's not one Premier League title. So we must clearly define our goal. Because United is not just a club in those days that was just only one Premier League title. No. It was a club that was dominant. So we need dominance as a sign to show that we are actually back. And for me, I believe the goal for United is, in a 5-year period, win the Premier League at least 3 times. Yeah, that will be dominance for us. So that should be our goal. And so whatever we are building now with the new manager should follow through with this goal. 5-year period, at least 3 Premier Leagues in 5-year period. If you can get that, United is back. If you can get that, United is back. United is back. United is back. So we must have the discipline to implement all these things to get back. So for me, I will keep saying it. It's not about who the next manager is. At this point, I don't even care about the names. I care about systems. And these things need to be put in place. It's the systems I'm after, and not names. Anybody that is manager, I don't care. If you like, even go and get Erik for Nigeria, I don't care. If he's capable enough to implement these systems and this style that the club gives him, and I see progress, I will support. And I will analyze that I'm seeing progress in what this man is doing. I will tell you the progress, not just by mouth. I will tell you the progress he's making. The thing, and I will analyze it on the board. If possible, this is what he's making. These are the things he's doing. I believe we should give him time. And the moment I feel that there's no progress, I'll start calling and say, there's no progress. I don't believe the progress. So for me, it's not about who the next manager is. I'm a United fan. I'll support whoever the Man United manager is. And supporting United also means I will say the truth when I ought to say the truth all the time. I'll say the truth to say we are making progress, we're not making progress. I'll say it. And so for me, it's not just about the manager now. We've done managers enough. Now it's about systems. Can the next Man United manager implement these systems that have made teams dominant in the league? If they can do that, I'm behind them. So guys, let me have your opinion. This is my own opinion about the things United needs to fix, to become a dominant side again. And that should be our next step moving forward as a journey. I know it's not going to be one season, minimum of 3 seasons, right? But we are here to support. Right? So, but once we see the progress, we know that yes, something good is coming, and then we support. So let me have your opinion, really. Thank you for sticking with us. Don't forget to like, don't forget to subscribe, and ultimately don't forget to share. Until I see you next time. Bye.